Welcome everyone to the May 8th, 2026 City of Geneva IDA meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order.
I muted that tab. We should be good now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. First off, RJ, would you read our mission statement?
Sure. The Geneva IDA was created to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in acquiring, constructing, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing certain types of projects and facilities to advance the job opportunities, health, general prosperity, economic welfare, and recreation opportunities of the citizens of Geneva.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome Megan to our board. She was just recently approved by City Council, so she was just sworn in minutes ago. She is now a voting member of the board. Thank you for stepping up for the community, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Obviously we met, and you just met
Yes.
Josh. Kyle is a member. Oh,
No,
Steve.
this is Steven.
Oh, Steve from Harrison.
He's the attorney.
All the
He's usually on the screen.
Got it.
We
Oh, nice to meet you.
didn't recognize him in person.
We didn't recognize him in person. Okay.
He's usually two-dimensional.
Got it. Got it.
He's kind of flat.
Okay. Here's speech. Okay. Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some administration. The agenda's before us. Is there anything that needs to be added or subtracted? I think we're all set for everything other than.
Yeah, I think
Miles
so.
is not gonna repeat.
Yeah, that's,
We
we have stuff we can discuss.
we
Yeah.
can discuss the report from. Okay,
I guess just one kind of point of order. Megan is sworn in and obviously can vote, but I did not get her the draft minutes from April 3rd prior to this meeting, so just
okay,
flagging that.
okay. Okay, so the agenda's okay. Like a motion to approve the minutes before we discuss them.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion, additions or corrections?
Can we please add, if possible, just something related to the CBA as it relates to 585 South Exchange Street? It was missing the mortgage tax and sales tax exemption pieces, which should be included in the CBA as a cost. So it wasn't there, and I thought that was kind of material. So if we could just note that. And
Did they apply for sales tax and mortgage reporting tax?
They sent us an updated application which had 2 boxes checked. The original application didn't have those boxes checked,
Okay.
and then the updated application had those boxes checked.
Okay.
Who is they? Who's this phone?
Pivotal.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, addition to the minutes, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so approved. Okay, so, presentations, Webster property, Miles, let's go early, but, he was not gonna be able to make it today. But, obviously we have quite a few things that have come up with us last month, so, Taylor?
Yeah, so I think, they provided a bunch of documentation. I don't know if there's any specific, questions we want to document, and I can obviously circulate to Webster Properties post this meeting and get those responses. As it relates to the tenant activity report, I believe they also, their monthly GEDC report, their delinquency report, and the owner statement and, bank register. So those were all provided ahead of time by Webster. So if there's any questions on that, and then in addition, Miles had provided responses to questions from the last meeting. And I don't know if there's anything left outstanding besides what he noted, which was there was a NYSEG question that he did not have an answer to, and he was inquiring with them. I have not received an update on that so far. Lastly, we have not received an update on when exactly the fire code reinspection is going to occur. According to Miles, everything that came up in the last inspection has been addressed. That's in the report for this month. So he says they're ready for reinspection. I've communicated that to Deputy Chief Buckland. I thought it was gonna happen a few weeks ago. It hasn't happened yet, so I'll try to figure out when that's gonna happen exactly. I will flag again, I think I flagged this in like 2 meetings ago, that the initial inspection was not the entirety of the building. Once they discovered a number of violations in that first, let's say, half approximately, they halted. And so this next reinspection, if in fact, obviously we get through that first half, now that things are addressed, they will go beyond and do the rest of the building. And so I just say that in the event, like, we're not necessarily all in the
We're not
clear
done.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then with the Department of Labor, I know we've discussed, yeah, go ahead,
If you want, I can.
please.
I did get a hold of the fellow that prepared the single bid that we received. Was it?
Just for Megan, one we learned, the bid is for.
Okay, asbestos abatement,
Uh-huh.
and essentially it was pipe wrap.
Mhm.
And I went through the building and took 50 pictures and found quite a few spots where it was frayed
Mhm.
and considered friable. And although the repair is fairly simple, it comes in a kit, it's like a plaster cast you put over it. The bid said there were like 5 exceptions.
Mhm.
And it said, we're not including these things. And one is a third party air quality.
Yeah.
And which
Mhm.
first they state in their proposal that everything is covered.
Yeah.
But then they say, but these 5 things aren't. So it's kind of strange. So I asked him, I finally got a hold of the fellow that wrote the proposal. And he said, you have to, he included in his bid was to isolate areas and work in an area and put up barriers so that you work only in one specific spot. But you're supposed to take air quality before and after. And that's a third party, and that cost was not included. And it couldn't mount up.
Mhm.
And
They did not tell you how many times that would occur.
no, I asked them, I tried to get means and methods out of them because I thought the dollars was high. I thought $46,000 was high for what I saw. It's pretty straightforward how to fix it. But he's the only bidder.
Who's the bidder? I'm sorry.
KANS contracting.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's KANS, I know for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, thank you. I remembered the case.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're out of Rochester.
yes.
And he indicated 2 firms that do the testing. One was I think, was it Lozier?
Mhm.
Lozier, and I didn't recall the second one. So we need to get a price from them to add to our 40 some odd $1,000. So, and then in my memo to you all, I wasn't sure if we had the money to do this.
Yeah, I think we've looked into that and we can figure it out.
Oh.
It should be able to be done. The one thing I want to say on that is Miles had said that he was waiting on a quote for the air monitoring from Paradigm.
Okay, Dime was the other one.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I followed up on that. I haven't heard anything. And he says he verbally received just for reference for folks, he verbally received another quote for the pipe wrapping that
Oh.
was 10,000 higher than KANS. They were supposed to be sending a document. I haven't seen that document to date. But again, obviously $10,000 higher doesn't necessarily help us out.
Mhm.
So those are 2 missing pieces, and Miles has indicated that he's been in contact with the Department of Labor representative, updating them on status. I sent him another note this week saying, we want to move forward at least to a contract for the future, as you had
Yeah,
learned.
he told me he's got 20 schools to do.
Yeah,
So he pushed us way back to beyond August. So we
Yeah.
can't jump on it right away.
and as far as kind of just for compliance and process wise, we did talk, this is necessarily an emergency kind of procurement here.
Mhm.
And so according to what I could find in our procurement policy, I'll just write something up that kind of documents why this is an emergency. We did still get, hopefully we'll still have the 2 quotes, but if we don't get that other quote that's at least documented, I'll write that because this is something we obviously have to move on, given the Department of Labor involvement and of course, just the health and safety of folks at the building. So next steps, I think, is contract certainly with the pipe wrapping company and hopefully getting an idea of what those air monitoring costs are
Mhm.
and getting them in a contract as well. So hopefully that's done prior to our next meeting. That would be ideal.
Okay.
Anything, so any questions or other comments on Webster documentation and stuff, so we can get that documented and sent to Webster?
I think would be, and they took it out, would be again to put the square footage.
Okay.
Could add that back in, next to where the suite number is.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Can I peek into the room?
Yeah, sure.
Just for, I'm just listening. Keep talking.
I do have a handful of questions. I can send them.
That's perfect, but yeah, I don't know, is there any that you want as discussion for this, or is it really all just
It's,
clarifications?
so, I mean, I can read from there. It's fairly brief. It's a lot to do with the numbers that you sent over. So it sounds like we lost our repair person to a degree. So like, what does that look like now? And is there a cost difference for the IDA based off of the former person and potential new person, or what does that look like? I think that's material because a lot of the expense that we were incurring was associated with labor of the building,
Yeah.
which was that repair person.
Yeah, so, yeah, great question.
So something like that. And then a couple other things, just questions on his internals regarding the year end. And there was a couple charges, the one that I wasn't familiar with on the bank statement. And then I do believe there's a discrepancy of approximately $1,422 on the internal when comparing it to the bank statement. I
Okay.
think he missed a charge in April. So I believe the internal is understated by that amount. And then I also did notice that the tenant activity report from last month compared to this month, obviously because of the difference in the person being there to repair, it moved from 6 days a week to 1 day a week. So, which,
Yeah,
you know, just what is that cost difference for us?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's valuable, but everything else was, I can send an email.
yeah, no, that's perfect if you can send that. And one thing I just wanted to add is there was I think happily, a significant decrease in the delinquent payments between last month and this month. I just kind of want to understand that shift. So is it just typical that folks are paying their rent, 2 weeks into the month, and that's just what our cycle is looking like, and they're paying that late fee, and that's that? Or was there something kind of weird going on that month? Because it was quite a significant jump, which is great. We got that money, but I'm just curious of kind of what happened there. So that was the only other thing I'll probably add to what you have, and we'll get that to Miles and get some responses.
It struck me as kind of optimistic. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't, I
Yeah.
see this
It's
income
good.
is not horrible.
Yeah,
Like I
Totally.
always thought it was.
yeah,
So maybe there's some light there.
yeah.
Maybe we can get another room finished and ready.
Yeah, I mean, that 95,000 staff, plus they're still taking their management.
Yes.
I mean, it's just funny that all of the money that we collect is consumed by them.
Yeah.
It seems convenient.
Yeah.
And I said that in public.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, any other questions about the GDC? I mean, we're gonna talk about the RFP for that we just received, some of these demolition. Quite a disparity between them, but
Yeah.
we can, we'll discuss that at new business. All set on the, economic development strategy. This is the one that was put together by Gary Ferguson.
Yes, that is correct.
Ethan, remember, was, 2 years ago. And, he gave us a list. I mean, certainly, all you are involved, a number of meetings, public meetings stuff, and he kind of broke it down to the different economic, development arms in the city and what we should do. Some of the goals, even when we received it, we said, well, it's not
Yeah,
something we can do. And when we kind of pushed back on, it, he says, we gotta have goals. Okay. Well, you can't take action on everything that's in there. And that document is available if you're interested. Maybe you could send a copy to.
yes, yeah, certainly, yeah.
That'd be good, since we're going to discuss it. But I did see you made a summary.
Yes, yeah, which is, a few pages less than the full document, but honestly, this is worth, I think it's helpful and kind of acclimating. It's our Geneva Economic Development
Okay.
Implementation Strategy. So that's the full document. What I tried to do was pull what was directly relevant to the IDA and kind of identify what Ann had mentioned, which is there's some of these that make sense, some that don't, some that maybe we want to talk about and figure out whether they should be priorities or not. We did this as a group. Go ahead, Ann.
And also the metrics.
Yes.
On what success means.
Yeah.
Are not obtainable.
Yeah.
For us to say that we're gonna add 25 or whatever it was, 25 new jobs a year. I mean, we don't have the ability to do that unless we have a project that
Yeah.
actually produces jobs. And the
Yeah.
ones that we've been looking at lately are not job related, they're
Right.
manufacturing. So
Yeah.
some of them were just not. I mean, again, he pushed back, he says, well, you gotta set a goal and
Yeah.
whatever, but I think we have to discuss some of the metrics.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And one of the things that, from my perspective, when I think about economic development, what I really think we should do is put ourselves in our community shoes. And so as a community member, how do I define success? Is it that I can get to I'm just gonna say this, I know it opens up a box, but I can get to a grocery store in a 5-minute walk. That's how I define my success. It's what do we hear from our residents and how we define that. So that's kind of how I think about it. And I think this is so I mentioned this in the last meeting. This is really the first, I want to integrate this into all of our meetings, how we are improving upon this, acting on it, and really keeping this as an anchor. We paid money for it. I think, it's a good, at least grounding document. Ann and myself and other members of the LDC and the bid met in the early beginning of this year, I think. Yeah, it was 2026, beginning of this year, to kind of talk through this. And we were, as they were, very, very transparent with these certain things make sense, these other ones don't. And we'll continue to work, I think, collaboratively in that way. That's a goal of city council, to see us working together, complementing and, supplementing each other, not kind of providing the same things, which I don't think is something that we do. And that's kind of clear in the strategy. So I provided a summary document. Really, again, I focused on, we already talked about the GEDC in almost every single meeting. So I think that being a goal and that being a kind of priority for us, that seemed accurate. Something that's felt not applicable and not really possible for us is around this local housing incentive program. So I have that obviously in a discussion point for the group and see what folks think about that. The awards program, Lowell kind of does this already. So to me, that's a win. That's okay, check, we continue to do this. Maybe there's better ways we can grow on it and we could support Lowell more. And then there was the study and redevelop the Route 5 and 20, which was again, another area where it's like, ooh, I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know how we put this into action. So to me, what this really means is the GEDC is kind of central right now. It's really a focus point for us to at least figure out what our path forward should be. We talked a lot about it, and I think it's time for us to really make some decisions on at least taking another step towards a direction instead of, just sitting and talking about the options that we have. The other thing that I didn't really integrate in this, because it's not necessarily highlighted, in a way it is. Stephen had mentioned this when we were doing the staff roles and responsibilities document, and that is looking at how we educate the public and like the developer pipeline more about what tools we have. We can't proactively create a project, but we can at least make sure people know we're here and how our project how our tools can make a project feasible. So if somebody is considering something and for whatever reason they're hesitant, they have the information on how our tools help move that along. Who knows? Maybe it makes a difference in them proceeding with the project.
Where do you see that being? There is some information on the website.
Yeah.
These three.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's old facts or some content. But is there something like we should have a response tool, I understand.
Yeah.
But I think we also need a tool that's just looking and haven't actually reached out.
Yeah.
Get the information, and I don't know how else maybe the county you have a part of your website that we could add some stuff to, right? Kind of, there's a list of buildings and things like that we talked about.
I guess it's better characterized as we will.
Okay,
Okay,
It's there, but it's no good.
okay,
yeah, it's kind of the
That's
same.
what Millie's working on is
Yeah.
our downtown development stuff.
perfect. Okay, perfect, yeah. And I think similarly, and just like for the city perspective, we are also looking at how we are improving our communications. We actually staff just went through a 3-day super intensive communications training. And so I can work on some potential ideas. I think a good starting point, I will make some significant edits just to make it look prettier and stuff, is all the information I gathered for that presentation I just did for the ad hoc committee. Putting that into a digestible format, love to even maybe create some videos and things like that. Quick, I'm gonna have, hopefully definitely one intern in my city office, that's focusing on like, so content creation and, updating our website and stuff. So I can have her come up with maybe just
I think that's important.
1 or 2 achievable things for us over the next, through the end of this year. And then we can assess, see if they, how we like them, and then we can try to do.
We also
bigger-
talked some time ago about actually having a packet or
Yeah.
a handout, and it could just be a folder with all the information. in
Yeah.
it, But pretty
Make it easier,
documents.
yeah,
Not ones that are, just stuck with some of this stuff.
yeah.
I can tell you from some experience I had trying to work my way through processes in different communities and towns. Like when a client of mine would come and say, well, how do we get to approval of this site?
Yeah,
And a flow chart is really handy. It's just boxes and simplified, and it says and what happens if this board says no, where does it take you?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But the positive side of step-by-step approach, who do you see first? And then who do we apply for next?
yeah,
Where's the form? The application form?
yeah,
And what's included?
yeah.
And that certainly could be on the website.
Yes, yeah. No, I think that's actually a great point. And I will just we mentioned it in the council meeting, within our code enforcement office, we are working on developing and deploying a online software. So folks will actually be able to fill out applications, get updates online, their permit applications, et cetera. There will be a public facing portal for that. I'm gonna kind of under promise and over deliver, certainly by the end of the year. We have a goal to have the permitting component up. And so I wanted to create materials such as that for this new software. And so I think there's kind of natural alignment with city goals, so we can try and focus on that. That's kind of an easy check for us to produce some type of documentation that helps folks better navigate.
One thing that we've done with other IDAs and other communities, and I think we talked about it before. But we, Harris Beach, have actually accompanied like IDA staff and done like a little roadshow
Yeah.
around the community.
Mm.
So reach out, if people here have contacts with employers and so forth. We schedule a time and, like I said, spend a day. And just going, hopping around employer to employer, let them know what we can do. And then obviously if we've got the materials as well to
Yeah.
back it up, so that they can keep it. I can always keep the IDA,
That would be useful. That
Yeah.
would be useful.
Yeah, absolutely. So beyond the, obviously, take your time to look through this, and if there's more questions, and certainly feel free to look through the full document. I'll reshare that with the full group. And if you see anything that I missed in the summary that we should be talking about, or just a different way to discuss it, again, we'll try to incorporate this regularly in our meeting.
The area of financial incentive expansion, obviously the pilots,
Yeah.
is kind of what we've been doing. And this, I guess, is a question for you, Stephen. Would we be the vehicle to put together these or package or offer or help like certain incentives, like for dormitories, already grants, or even DRI grants? Can we like initiate that and fold it into projects and just help facilitate that, or is that
We
beyond
can,
our?
IDAs
beyond our
routinely,
thing?
IDAs will routinely help try to facilitate. A lot of that stuff will ultimately be driven by, technically whoever the proposed recipient is. But, we've got a bunch of contacts over at ESD and so forth. So if there's, conversations that need to be had, introductions that need to be made, we at Harris Beach can certainly help with that. But yeah, we can certainly help.
I mean, I think that would be useful if
Okay.
in our packet
Yeah.
or in our thing that we had, these are kind of peripheral,
Yeah,
but they are opportunities for grants.
yeah,
And remember, there are certain grants that, may otherwise not be able to directly go to a developer, but could get funneled through the IDA. and
Right.
Have some.
So see, now that's the mechanism that would be useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, just sitting here and I know this came up at the meeting on Monday night about us, we're pretty much we
Yeah.
react to opportunities, we're not as proactive as, but if we had a pipeline, looking at what you're suggesting as a developer,
Yeah.
these things might actually, fit.
Yeah.
And how do we help them with that? Instead of just sitting here waiting for them to come with a proposal.
And you get that now from the county.
What's that?
You get that from the county now.
Okay,
So there's one specific project that we're working on together with the city, and we've lined up ESD, and we've lined up. So you get that from us already. And if it ever comes the other way, if you have a developer reach out to the city or the city IDA and you need help with those connection points, that's why I exist.
perfect.
okay, I guess I haven't seen that, and when we look at our projects, I haven't seen other sources of funding.
They don't like to bang the drum, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, the OEO site, there was a slowdown in getting information from NICEAG. So I made sure that that introduction was made and sat in on a couple meetings, and then once it gets rolling, then I get the hell out of the way.
Okay, no, I understand about collaboration on projects, I'm talking about what grants and funding and other things other than what we can do financially.
You are considering, or actually, I think you approved a project, from the DeSales site last month, right?
Mhm.
That I helped work on the restore. We don't put pen to paper for anybody,
Yeah,
but I made connections at ESD, help funnel things to get questions answered. To whatever.
Did you, all right, so the county initiated the restore application?
Restore application was initiated by the property owner.
Correct.
They needed.
That's what I'm getting at is putting a list together, okay, this is what you can do, I'm not saying that you guys aren't doing it.
I could help with that too. I do a lot with DRI, Restore,
awesome. Yeah,
every state dollar out there.
yeah,
I do a lot with that, so I can help with that too.
Perfect.
I have a lot of contacts at ESC, HCR,
yeah.
Right
all
now,
those people.
it's working on New York Forward and
New York Forward.
Richmond. We will be working in Naples. I've helped out in Victor. This that's what we're here for.
So I think a simple thing, obviously, I think packaging this information is important and making sure that we kind of discuss how that is tools that we can leverage. I think one of the like low hanging fruit is when we have a project that is initiated, Ryan is already here in all of those meetings. There is potentially more of an intentional, like, the county can help us identify these resources, and allow them to keep that work while also identifying, all right, where their ability to help stop, how do we fill that gap? Not necessarily duplicate what the position, what Ryan does. How do we fill that? And like, we could actually have that as a part of the discussion when we first get a project. And obviously beforehand is great too, but.
Yeah, and a good example of this, I can say this because it just got announced publicly. But the Steuben County IDA just got $16 million grant for the Power Up program. And that's going to be utilized to upgrade infrastructure at their Wayland Business Park and Bonatrans, which I think is I want to say an Eastern Bloc company. But they're coming in and doing like $100 million facility there.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that may not otherwise be available, but for some participation with an IDA.
Yeah. And I obviously think there's more we can do. Like, for example, if we figure out the GEDC and we're able to kind of make income and continue to move forward, we can look at having grant writers support us and being able to actually, right now, obviously we're limited. Our hands are tied capacity wise. We can't necessarily write a grant for a partner. But perhaps we can work towards that. We can at least let them know about the opportunity right now. and agree to be that pass-through if they do the work of developing that application.
It's just.
Yeah.
If we knew, understood all those other funding sources.
Yeah.
And that would at least.
Yeah.
Put up what we can do beyond the pilots. I
Yeah.
think that's what I understood is, okay,
Yeah.
we're limited. Well, no, we
Yeah.
can do pilots, but also we can, your project,
Yeah,
we could take it in this
Yeah.
direction and kind of be the conduit for that
Yeah.
information. Not that all the other organizations have to be involved.
yeah, yeah, I think that's, so to me, I feel like beyond kind of development of this packet of information, maybe one short-term step is even like, you know, Megan, you mentioned you have some familiarity with some of these. Maybe Megan can walk us
I can do a
through
list.
list, you know, from her
CFS.
experience, and
Sure.
that's a starting point. Now we understand how those funding streams work, and then we look to the next, okay, this other thing, you know, even, you know, from Steven's experience, I've heard this program recently. I can do some research quickly, bring something, and we can start to learn about those things.
You don't want to take 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because it was made clear
Yeah.
at the meeting, that it was 10 hours a month. You've already spent your 10 hours. I know you at 20. And so just in preparation for that
Yeah.
meeting we were at. And so let us do what we can.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Help you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because I really don't want or like the idea of this city council saying you're spending too much time.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, anything else on the economic development strategy? I think we've got lots of good ideas and some that I think we can do some quick stuff on, and others that'll take a little bit longer, but.
You want to talk about no. If that's on the agenda. Okay. Any other questions on that? We're gonna move on to new business then. We do have some responses, on the demolition of the building C, I guess.
Calling it, I guess.
Yeah, that, at least we're starting to get some responses, and this is something we're trying to put to bed by the end of the year.
Yeah,
Actually have the work done by the end of the year.
How'd they come in? They didn't-
yeah. So late in the evening yesterday, I circulated copies of most of the bids. And then I have the original copies here. I want to discuss kind of what our process is, of course, but just at a high level. So we received 3 bids. There was a bit of a range in the costs, as Ann mentioned. So what we have is ACP Buffalo was a bid. We can talk a little bit about some of the specifics, but ultimately this was the lower bid. This was $399,777. There are additional costs that are not included in that, that they tried to lay out, I think relatively clearly. We know what is not included. For example, in the site visit, there was an identified electric
Generator.
a generator right outside the building and what to do with that. That work is not included in their bid, but they said that they can include it at whatever the cost is plus 25%. And they laid that out for a couple of different things. There's a salt shed there that DPW utilizes. I think 2 out of the 3 said that they would demo it. One of them gave both options. This is what it would cost if we demo it. This is what it would cost if we leave it alone and we go this other way. And then one said, we're gonna leave it where it is and we're gonna work around it. So ACP Buffalo was $399,777. We can talk more about what that included. Then there was Bronze was the name of the company. It's a WBE, just that was listed on their front page. That came in at $488,527 plus $23,880 for asbestos abatement prior to, if that's the route that we wanted to go. They listed a couple of options on how we could do that. And then LCP was the name of the last company, and that was the highest bid, and that was $755,344. That bid included asbestos work. It included demoing the salt shed, addressing the electrical work that would need to happen with that generator. et cetera. I will say one of them, provided that, like, so LCP, the high cost one, said it would take them 25 days to do the work. So if we're talking timeline wise, it looks like I didn't write it here, but one of the other two said it would take 45 days. So that was kind of the range of the timeline of what they provided. So kind of before we get into maybe more of the detail, I wasn't sure if anybody has had experience today on what exactly is the IDA's process for kind of assessing and selecting based off of these bids, meaning does the full board review and score and we go from there? Is that typically kind of how?
That's what I said.
Okay, that's what you suggest. So my thought process wise, we can obviously have a discussion on the substance, but my thought process wise is you all should have, and I'll make sure I send to you as well, Megan, you all should have copies of the full bids. I will, based off of our RFP, what we said we were gonna be looking at, I'll create just an easy score sheet. You can review, score each of the bids. And then based off of those score sheets, we can we'll see which one is the
Do
selected.
you expect any other bids?
No, I mean, if they come in, they technically shouldn't be considered because they were beyond the deadline.
Okay.
Yeah. So to be transparent, there were one specific email that was provided by a contractor who said they want to provide a bid, but they didn't feel comfortable doing so with the outstanding questions that they had. My thought on that is we received 3 that did that addressed the assumptions, all of that. And so I would think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if we wanted to consider that, I think we would need to reopen the whole process and allow.
Yeah, from an optics standpoint.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think you can do anything.
Yeah.
With that.
I mean, obviously, if we go through these, you all kind of look at them.
Maybe. Yeah.
If you all kind of look at them and you're like, none of these feel comfortable, then obviously we're gonna have that discussion anyways. We may need to go back out. But I did have our Neil Brayman, our head of code enforcement, take an initial look, and I don't think that's the situation we're gonna be in. I think there's something here. So now we just need to kind of score and assess what one we move forward with. So I obviously open that up for discussion on any pieces to the group.
This was a real short RFP. So, I mean, for such a intense project.
Yeah,
So many things that they had to assume,
yes,
So that was a tough bid to put together for these guys.
How
yes.
long was the response period?
Oh, they had 30 days,
30 days.
a little over 30 days.
Can you also send the RFP? or send me a
Absolutely,
link to
yeah,
it?
yeah, it's, yes,
It's just 2
2 pages, yeah.
It's a
for-
2-pager?
Yeah. For a lot of.
I did issue an addenda afterwards that basically said, we are aware of all of these assumptions, make them and include them in your costs.
Okay.
Because we don't have that information right now.
Yeah, usually you would work from an engineer's report
Yeah.
that would identify everything.
Right,
Mhm.
So we didn't have that.
no,
So we did all right.
Yeah.
We did pretty well,
oh,
given, and it's tough for us not to accept a low bid.
yeah,
It's,
I
I
understand
mean,
that,
any municipality
Yeah.
is driven by price,
Mhm.
as long as they're equivalent.
yes,
And maybe I have more experience in doing these reviews, but for lay people to review this and to make a recommendation, it's usually you point to your consultant
Mhm.
to put it together.
yeah,
To help you identify it, since,
You gotta level the bids.
yeah, people don't have the expertise.
yeah,
I don't
Right.
expect you guys that have not received bids before to
yeah.
be able to assess this.
And that's another reason too, I'm gonna, and he did just a precursor review. We're gonna have some city staff look at it and make sure that there are no glaring red flags as far as the more technical pieces. I do think there's value, of course, to just, everybody obviously presents a perspective and experience that can help us identify potential gaps, beyond obviously the technical aspects of the project. So I think, and again, I just think it's beneficial process wise for everybody to be involved. I will say one thing I want to flag on the price piece. keep in mind that while there is one that is a clear lower price, there are pieces that are identified as not included in that
Mhm.
cost. We should keep that in mind in the assessment of the cost because that will only increase that amount. So just keep that in mind as you review what we feel, you know. So that's the one thing I will flag on that. We can, I believe, ask questions. Like, so
Sure.
if in the initial review on, for example, with ACP Buffalo, the lowest bid, there are a number of things that are listed as not included.
Mhm.
We could potentially ask them, are you able to provide at least a general idea of how high this price could go? For whatever pieces we definitely want to include. If we're not interested in having the salt shed demolished, that seems beyond what we want to do, then, you know, we don't need to ask for that piece. But for example, they say up to 800 tons of landfill waste is included. And then every one beyond that is this extra X cost.
It'll be heavy.
Yeah.
It's concrete.
So that stands out to me about the ACP bid as the technical lowest bid. So
Mhm.
that's just all pieces. Obviously, you'll read and assess, and we can go from there.
A smart bidder would also take into account change orders that he knows he can charge,
Yes,
and we could get creamed.
yes.
And who's funding the work?
That's a great question. So there is a up
The city
to,
or
up
us?
to $300,000 from the city. In the budget, it is listed that the IDA would be, that we were committing up to half of the cost, the city.
Up to half of the three?
No, up to half of the total cost.
Total
So
cost.
kind of giving us up to 600,000 if the IDA could present the other 300,000.
Mhm.
I think obviously we can continue those discussions on exactly what that looks like. We have options as far as from the IDA side of the house. One, I think we can get a clear view on what we have available within our funding. We also have our partners at the LDC that we could look for a loan from the revolving loan fund to get some of this work done. Maybe we could talk to our friends in the county. See.
Maybe not the-
Wasn't there a thought that because the city stored all their documents in there, that it would be a city's cost to demolish this building?
I certainly think that was a discussion that was
Yeah.
had. I was not, yeah.
More discussion of that before anything is spent from the city on this. I'm just.
Sure, I understand.
Right.
I understand.
It
I mean,
was
we-
in their
I don't see
budget.
how we could afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the whole thing, the whole nut. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, again, I
I'm
think
glad
we
it
would
didn't
certainly
come in
need to
at
get a
twice.
loan,
You
100%.
remember I said I thought it would come in at twice.
Yes, yes.
And I'm glad that we're semi-close, but it
Yes.
could easily be twice if he throws in the change order.
Yes, yeah. That's why I will say this, the bid that is the least amount of pages
Mhm.
explicitly says this is an all-in cost, like this is the full cost that we're
Oh.
including everything.
Wow.
So, and that is that middle bid, that 488, 527 plus the 28.3 for the asbestos abatement prior to, if that's the route we wanted to go, as opposed to taking the building down hot.
I do have just some top line thoughts. So I know like I'm still fairly new to the board, and so I wasn't really here in regards when the building was kind of being building C and the whole outskirts of it. Why was the building condemned?
I'd have to get the exact report from the code enforcement officer. I don't know the exact reasons why.
I think that our board needs to receive any documentation regarding the condemning of this building. And there is possibly a shape where, if possible, actually curing any condemning issues would be substantially, potentially less expensive than demolishing the building. If we can put an RFP and have these types of responses in like 30 days, what if we tried seeing what are the cure issues that need to be taken care of, putting an RFP together for that? The building is very heavy. There's a lot of material there. And that's kind of where I'm coming from, a point of concern when it comes to affordability.
That's correct. I mean, the floors in the building are concrete, 5 inches of concrete on a steel frame. There, so
Mhm.
The roof is compromised, that's no good, but you could put a truss. You know, roof on it, not, it's only after $500,000. And the stairwell needs to be replaced, that's the part that's unsafe to get upstairs. But I think once you got upstairs, you're fine, except for on the top floor where which I didn't go up there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you could repair it now.
Square feet
It's
is.
to what end though? What's, okay, if we stabilize it to save money, and
Right.
that's fine. There is water infiltration coming down that wall that's goes to the where Finger Lakes table is. You know, the northeast wall of that building. And there is some, you know, where it's connected to some of the DPW, but that part's not bad. It's really the other part. That's been patched a number of times, but just keeps separating them. They need to be.
I think there does need to be some level of looking into, is the building curable versus demolishing from a cost standpoint? Because please, everyone correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not knowledgeable. This, to be honest, I offer very little value to. Like this whole RFP, the relation to this, I offer basically no value. But when it comes to curing a condemned building, there always are opportunities to cure an issue. So the report that condemned the building should outline issues or items that could cure. And that's where I think
The CNF
saves money.
report that we received 2 years ago actually recommended taking it down.
Okay,
Now, the wall is, now we should read that portion of that report, which also is 114 pages or
Yeah.
something like that. To actually see what that was, or we could contact them to get specifics on that. The walls are actually 18 inches deep.
yes,
The outer
they look.
in, the brick is certainly compromised. You know, quite a few of the bricks are loose and stuff. But, the water filtration's pretty much all been through the roof. And there are some poke throughs in the concrete floors where they had, I don't know, ventilation or anything. But I was surprised when I was in the building for this thing. Some of the stuff, I hadn't been there in years. And I did not remember there was a concrete structure. I mean, these guys that were looking at it, was like, holy mackerel, you know how much this go away? You know, and the steel underneath supporting the concrete is substantial.
Yeah, and there's lots of discussion of that in their bids and kind of what their different proposed approaches will be.
Yeah, I mean, most of them were, and I was standing there with 20 of them were
Yeah.
there, and they were just taking pictures and stuff. Yeah, you know what,
Yeah.
this is, you know, it's not a just knock it down with a bulldozer type of thing, you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna require cutting
Yeah,
and disposing of the concrete.
Yeah.
And if we're disposing in the certified site, then that's easy. They said this is gonna ridiculous amount of money to
Yeah.
get rid of the stuff.
yeah,
And that's where the guy's saying that it depends on the weight, you know,
Yeah.
they've allowed this much weight, they could, you know, halfway through, they could
yeah.
absorb that threshold.
Yeah, and there's a key thing on that. In one area, it says 8,000 tons, another area, it says 800. So
Oh,
that needs to be clarified. From my perspective, on a process standpoint, these have at least one of them, but I believe all of them have an explicit time frame on how long their costs stay good. Additionally, Lowell's point and the time, money, and effort that went into the responses to this RFP. It is fully within the board's capabilities. I feel from my perspective that issuing an RFP and then changing our mind after for no kind of specific reason, but we want to see these other things, when there has been studies and other things done that have recommended this, is not going to be perceived well by the contractor community. This process was a little bumpy, and so we've already rubbed some folks the wrong way in that process. And this would do that again. There's substantial money that is put into preparing these because there's a belief that we are proceeding with that project. Again, it is for the board to decide the path we want to go. I will also just say, staff time wise, this wasn't easy. It was a lot of work, and to do that again for a different project is a decision that, you know, would take time and effort. So that's my perspective on that.
If we had a contractor that had worked for us before and they could do these kinds of things, like a place that I'm doing, in a condominium thing, that I have a contractor that can do anything.
Mhm.
So, and he could look at something like that and just say, it's 800,000
Mhm.
just to repair this and get a new roofing structure, and $500,000 doesn't go very far now. Does not go very far in new construction.
New materials.
Yeah, it's really tough. So it could be that, a snap decision by the guy I know,
Mhm.
he would just say, no,
Yeah.
it's better to take it down. You can't bear this.
Do we have access to the CNH report anywhere?
I certainly have it. So I've actually
Something we can just,
pull up. I don't think so, no. I've got a bunch of printed copies up in my office.
I mean, there is a section there about the.
Yes.
building safe for sure.
Correct.
And what would be interesting is, they didn't have a lot of money to do in depth.
Everything was $500,000. Everything they listed, it added up quick.
Yeah.
But the rationale behind them demolishing, how much I remember Kristen Collins was her name, and she said that she's a preservation person.
Mhm.
And she says, I don't think buildings for anything.
Yeah.
She said, this building should be taken down.
Yeah.
And it was because of the water filtration in the walls. I
Mhm.
mean, there's rubble inside the wall, and I think
Yeah.
that's where it went down.
Yeah.
You know, from the roof, it went down there, and that's why the outside is starting to. So I think that the idea, I believe the walls, the exterior walls are supporting walls.
Yeah.
I did not see, and I don't remember, but I did not see inside columns to support the floors.
Yeah.
I think the walls are supporting and close.
Yeah.
It's not.
I think the other piece too that I talked to Amy about is that our insurance company regularly requests updates on where we're at with the demolition. And so from the city's perspective and the money beyond the discussions, that Councilor Lavin has alluded to, and just the use of the money, I certainly think there would need to be discussions on the use of that money for something besides addressing the insurance company has recommended that we do.
Okay, well, I think it's a good idea, Josh, but maybe a little too late.
Can I tour the building?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we
That would be
can't,
really
so
helpful.
unless you would like to get in the fire truck and go up to the top.
I'm happy to not go to the top floor,
I
but
can send you photos because we do have.
Oh, perfect.
I'll send photos.
okay.
Okay.
Can I still tour the
Yes.
IDA's properties though?
Oh, yeah,
Just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
generally?
yeah, absolutely, yes. All right, so I am certainly so next step for me is I've already circulated this. I'll make sure you get a copy. I will circulate a very simple score sheet for everybody to take a look at and provide that. And based off of that feedback, I'll let you know kind of what comes out as the top option, and we'll discuss what those next steps are.
I can come in and just sit and look at each one.
Yeah, well, I actually was going to offer the original copies to you. Well, that was what I was going to do. That's why I
We
brought
leave
them.
them here. I just,
Okay,
I don't have a lot of office space.
okay,
In my little house. So,
okay,
I'll come in and that'll make me focus on this,
perfect.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. That's,
Go to go over, is that, so you'd be meeting with Neil or Joe?
so Neil is who I've asked on my team to kind of, and I think he was supposed to do it last night, so I think he's kind of gone through it. So as there's questions that
This is
come
a
up.
couple hours. So
Yeah.
You just have to sit and focus.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
We have a spare office on the first floor if you need space.
Okay,
right.
I'll come in. Not today.
That's fair.
Get some light.
Next new business items, compliance, I wonder if it's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
just-
good that you put it together.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna I put one together and then I found this one. And I adjusted a little bit according to, I want to make sure, and this doesn't necessarily have to be decided today, but I want to really ask everyone to look at this and make sure that these dates and everything is right. Cause this is my first, I dug through if this is how you recall how we've done things before. And I believe I've done, at least looking at our enabling statute and our bylaws, like I've done that piece, but it's just like practically like, is this how things go? So if everybody's good with this, then this is gonna become my like Bible, for lack of a better term, and making sure we're staying on top of things.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten off track here.
Yeah, yes, 100%. Luckily, not terribly. I mean, we're only like a month or so off from a couple of the things. For example, we've got I know, I didn't say this at the top, but Adam, Adam's wife has passed away, this week, and so he will be, out for, a foreseeable future. We'll obviously keep folks, posted on that. You are all, of course, encouraged to reach out to him personally, but we do ask that you don't say anything publicly, about it. They're a very private, family, but please, if you have a relationship with him, you should feel free to reach out and, offer him kind words. But I say that because, for example, on the RFP for audit services, I am very unsure of whether we need to do that this year, where that stands, those types of pieces I'm gonna have to work through. We have our deputy comptroller looking into a number of things. For example, the Paris report has come up and there's been some challenges around that. We're getting through it. But some of these finance things, I may be coming to you all either for support or just guidance or understanding on.
I believe we selected the MMB for Medgar Mexer Bar.
Okay,
3 years ago. I
Okay.
thought it was a multi-year contract.
okay,
No, it may be up by now.
that's what I wanna, yeah,
I'm not sure, but yeah, we had some other auditors that were just taking a long time, and usually the problem was GDC's paperwork was.
Okay.
It was incomplete.
Okay.
And they're always kind of threw us off.
yeah.
Um,
And then the budget is supposed to be within the next couple months. That also obviously is a concern for me. I'm going to do my best to hit this target.
okay, well, it's good that you have it, because
Yeah.
we've been remiss with missing dates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And putting things in, and a lot of it is there's really not a lot of activity, but the activity that we have, particularly the GEDC, is a complication.
Yeah,
You rely on Adam a lot.
Yeah.
Those things.
I know, yeah,
So
Well,
it doesn't mean that maybe a delay is not unreasonable
correct.
for these
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And when he's ready to get back, and I'm not the one to ask him.
Yeah,
about
right.
that, but-
Yeah,
And when he left for a couple of years, right? It was at least 2 years that he was working with Matt on. We took care of it, but we were relying heavily on the accounting firm. All of these. things
Yeah.
and pulling it
Yeah.
together.
You said you got some questions on the Paris stuff?
yeah,
Let me know, because so Julie Marshall in our office, she used to be an ex-executive director in Livingston County.
okay,
But she handles a lot of Paris for some of our IDA clients. So if you guys need help.
actually, that's wonderful
I
to
can
hear.
always schedule a call
Yeah.
and get her.
Yeah, okay, that's super helpful. Thank you. All right, and that's it. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had this and that we were all in agreement that these are targets. Again, this year may be a little bit off, but then the hope is that now, I'm in this seat, and we'll be able to kind of starting this next fiscal year, try and get on track with this schedule.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To move along, nice to see you, Chris. Glad you could make it.
I was jumping blood tests a lot these days.
Yeah. I'm sorry to see the article in the paper today, but
And I always feel like they should start with a partial apology for what I'm doing here and how we're going about things. I voted against and delayed your new appointment with nothing to do with the appointee at all, whose service I admire and everything. But I have to remind people right now that some of the nomenclature these days is a little different depending on who you're talking with, but we are facing $1.7 million, almost more than 25% of our levy deficit this year. So a lot of what we're doing, a lot of what I'm doing here with you is to examine business practices, best interests, what we're getting for the money we're spending, how we're spending it. And that obviously trickles through to the agencies. This one is particularly interesting because the more you get into this, the more you see how closely integrated the city is with, I'm sitting here listening to a board being asked for advice on spending money that some of us on council don't feel has been properly examined going into last budget year and through the budget process as to whether we should be spending money at all on a building that we didn't lease, we were using without paying, and that is not part of the DPW building. There's a whole lot of questions we have about how we did up spending $500,000, it's sounding like, to take down a building that we don't own on land we don't own for purposes of an organization that's whose decisions and operations are having absolutely a significant effect on the time, energy, and execution of our own economic development operations. So these questions are obviously going to bring up some things, and there's no intention on my part, or anybody's part, to question the dedication or hard work of this board. And I just want to reiterate that I have publicly stated, I think, collaboration, regionalization of some of these functions need to be examined. And as a city councilman, you feel somewhat like you're driving a truck with a pillow instead of steering wheel, because you really don't have clear authority, clear direction. On the other hand, here we are, $500,000 is almost half of, or a third of what our deficit looks like for next year. And it's coming out where, so questions like, could we seal the place off, put up a fence and deal with it 30 years from now? Do we have to bring it down? What's the process? The whole use of the rest of that building and our desires to try and take care of these leases we have that are clearly not financially significant to the city and are exposing us to expenses we're not even fully aware of. But we're going to bring up these conversations, and I to the degree they drag you in as they did last week again, and I think, well, I also have to say, I'm a journalist, so I intend to be transparent. I get a lot of notes from the public. I got one today asking, should we be tearing down a building filled with historic documents from the city that, and I know that I groan when I hear that too, but this is what we're dragged into as people who in the end are going to spend the money. At least your hope is that we're going to spend the money. So I think that I just want to, put that out there that what we're facing and have not been facing as a city, the quality of our historic management of the city, its finances. I get other notes from people, including some in this room, questioning whether or not the direction for a county-wide approach to this whole issue is the right way, and how do we initiate that conversation in a meaningful way? I mean, to put our friends from the county on board. It's a political leadership issue. And I think that that's what you're seeing from the council is an attempt to be more informed, more aware, whether there wasn't a member of council that remembered from last year's budget discussion that we were committing ourselves to maybe as much as $500,000 to tear down a building they had never seen, didn't understand. It was never presented to them in that way. And the idea that something's in a budget doesn't mean that we're going to, in the end, spend it. It will come back to us anyway. So these discussions are happening in an attempt to make our city government more professional, supported, and to make sure that the money we're spending, the time and staff time we're spending, is really what we should be doing right now as a community.
So the 300,000 was never approved by.
Yes, it was.
Oh, because
Well, it was in, they say, in a budget. We just saw for the first time as a council, anything having to do with an obligation.
But I thought
The city was going to be paying there's a reason that they said that the city was going to be repairing.
So council didn't review the budget before they passed it then?
They do, you'd have to see the budget process to understand this. We're trying to overhaul it all this year because you don't go. There was not a person on that council who's specifically aware that the decision that we would step in and replace a building at $500,000 for the IDA was even in that budget.
I just point of clarity,
Yeah,
the adopted budget explicitly says it is for the demolition of the
Okay,
building.
that was my.
Up to $300,000 with the IDA covering half.
And that's what was approved by council.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Thank you.
you're not allowed to go out for bids as a municipality without the money anywhere.
Correct. Yes.
So
There are questions, but you still have to get approval for us to write the check. And there are other issues that can come up.
Is
that-
That's not true.
Okay,
Budget.
If it's budgeted, we are able to expend it. It's not yes. it's-
What's coming back to us anyway, and these other discussions about the use of our staff for this job, and the effectiveness of the organization, of the way it's structured,
Mhm.
those things are coming up in our discussions. And
Do we have the 300,000?
Tonight.
We have the 300,000, so we can put it towards.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
We would not have been able to
Long
put the
meeting.
RFP forward without it.
okay.
You couldn't attend it apparently, but,
no, I was aware of it.
it was a good meeting. New mayor was there and, council member. Anyway,
No, I agree that, I know there's disagreements, and there may be times with it, that, you know, we have lawyers on our side over there who don't, in my opinion, do enough to understand these things, and these things are being worked out by us, and it will spill over into you, like a conversation like this too. But the intention is not to criticize or undermine. But there are some significant financial issues for the city of Geneva right now.
Mhm.
yeah,
There-
understood.
Right, and that's going to raise questions about every dime we spend and how we do it.
Mhm.
And it's gonna, some of us are pushing for new thinking. That doesn't just, we have a tax rate in the city of Geneva that's 50% higher than the second place finish rate in this county. And that's not good government, it's not good economics, it's not anything else. And there are members of your panel here who have these questions too, but they don't have a forum really questioning whether or not we should be in this business anymore as a city. So.
Well, Chris, we always thought it was payment for back rent. We didn't really see it as a budget allocation, so, you know, having that base for the DPW that.
We'd be happy if we charged you just $1 a square foot. And you should be happy with that.
Part of what from the beginning, I got here saying, who wrote that 23 cents per square foot?
Yeah. Well, it ended up being 38 cents, but it's still,
Right,
it's still,
who did that?
it's still, you
There you
know,
go.
was.
But from a process perspective, the money's allocated, budgeted, and if we award a bid, we have 300,000 available through city funds.
That's.
From a process perspective, regardless of,
There may be questions about that.
Sure.
Bill.
Okay.
At least that we can all raise ourselves.
We'll have to move on.
that's
Yeah, we're
perfect.
exceeding
Yeah.
our.
We still have an executive session.
Yeah.
Things
We
to.
better do that.
That's a, so, to be continued.
To be continued, and really, it's not personal.
Mhm.
These people work for us
Okay.
and do some contract work.
Don't you work for me in Geneva?
Fine.
Just getting ahead.
Better be quick here, man.
Not much of a update from the county. Was happy to attend the meeting the other night to hear the IDA presentation and questions and all the concerns around it. Continue to come to all the meetings with the city of Geneva, and the only reason why I bring this up and why I said that you already get the support from the county earlier is because over the last week or so, my department's caught a little shrapnel from this discussion.
Hmm.
And I take a little bit of offense to it. In that you already have a county-wide, including the city of Geneva, I make sure to say that, economic development function from the county government. And it's me and my staff. We will continue to work with you and the LDC and the bid, just like we do in Canandaigua and every other municipality in the entire area of the county. There is an argument to be made about regionalization. But there's a lot of cleaning up that has to be done. As far as what the function is. So I agree with the mayor and council to make sure that everybody understands what everybody's role is. And we'll present that, I think, at the next ad hoc committee, and might be the one after that. I don't know, I haven't got the invitation yet, but I said that we want to at least give this is what the county does, county economic development. I wanted to make sure to say all this because at council meeting the other night, it was, I don't remember who, it was a couple of counselors that had said, hey, all of the economic development happens in the west of the county. Why doesn't the county help us? And that's where I got.
That wasn't me.
I know. If it was you, I'd have called you. And the reason why I was offended by it is understand the position of the county as it goes to the IDA specifically. If things come to us and they're looking to develop in the city, my staff and I will pass the ball to you,
Mhm.
right? That way they fill out your application and you get the income.
Mhm.
We'll help usher that all the way through, as much as we're asked to do. Just like we would in any other municipality, except for every other municipality, at the end of it, we get the fee, right? Because we did the project. So I'll continue to pass the ball, continue to pass the ball, and continue to pass the ball. But Monday night account or whatever night in the council, it was, why is the county missing the shot? That's not fair to my staff. So we'll keep passing the ball. Please include us. We'll always help. But I can't just sit there and catch a beating for something that I did everything that we are supposed to do, we do.
Yeah.
Up to filling out the application for somebody for a city IDA project. And in some cases, we put the pen in their hand. And we'll continue to do that. That's all.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Just one of the many services the county economic development provides for everybody. I mean, it's not like, there's any special treatment either. There's some reasons why there's development in the western part of the county. And it has nothing to do with favor. There's some natural advantage over there for some of the businesses that are looking to locate in Ontario County. There's also some people that are looking at this side of the county. So we'll continue to help.
Those other areas have land and they have utilities that go to this open space. So we don't have that. So I can see why you're focused elsewhere. There's no land to develop here.
I think it's also important to know, especially with a member of council in the room. There's predictability. There's been an opportunity for the city of Toledo over the course of the last year.
Exactly.
And it's been turned away. Eventually, developers are just going to give up. And honestly, there's going to be a spot, and if this continues, where county economic development is going to have to stop looking to pass the ball to the city, because I have to be able to say yes to a development. And know that once it comes here, it's going to be said yes to.
Well, if you were at that meeting, what I said was zoning. That's the first thing. If you're allowed to build a 5-story building on a certain parcel, then you usually proceed. And if a council member says, I know my neighborhood, I represent my neighborhood, they're against this. I've heard that. So that ruins.
There is a lot of municipalities.
Yeah, that ruins what we're trying to do here.
We're also below.
This kills me.
Right. This is a much larger conversation.
It puts the focus on how are we performing as the city of Geneva on economic development? And that's what that we let those two things push down town. There's no real leadership. Stop that.
Understood. It's just, understood. If we're going to unwind the city IDA, there's some complications that it's not a simple, okay, we'll just stop doing it. I mean, we've got standing pilots that go for the next 10, 12 years then.
Understand.
So, I mean, it's not an easy thing just to, have a vote in a meeting and say, okay, let's give it to Ryan. I mean, there's some legal stuff that we have to be careful of. So, I mean, it is a discussion, but one that we don't have time to kind of do today.
No, I just want to make sure that you all know that you always have the support of the county economic.
We understand. I don't think that was ever without. Maybe it was. Maybe that's what you heard. It was.
That's exactly what I heard.
But I don't think it was anonymous. I mean,
No.
we appreciate the assistance we get. I would like to vote. You still have to do the executive session here, so.
We
Make a motion to go into an executive session.
So
Executive
Yeah.
session Yeah.
Give me just
Discuss
a
the
moment.
financial information of a particular.
We're gonna
Right.
offer you, go back on.
Yeah.
Or
For the next.
Okay.